Welcome to the Lawyer Cliff Show. You might have remembered last week we were talking about rent increase has been capped in Washington State, first in the nation. This week we have another first in the nation for Washington State, shared streets.
Yes.
Madeline is a city planner, AICP certified. We need some understanding of the shared streets law, which they've never done before.
Before it was 20. Now we can regulate under that, such as 10 miles per hour or 15, which we couldn't do before.
Click the like button below if you enjoy content like this, and we can get more content like this to you. So what specifically about lowering it to 10 miles per hour makes a difference?
We're looking at pedestrian speed. Pedestrians are walking, they're going 5 miles per hour. They can't do that if cars are going 20. Now it forces these streets to be shared, and pedestrians are being thought of first. It goes pedestrians, and then cars are actually the secondary thought now.
For these shared spaces.
Yes, exactly.
So just for like frame of reference, you want to explain how what a shared space is? I think in Europe sometimes they're called home zones.
Yeah, it's exactly like Europe. If you walk through Italy or anywhere else in Europe, you have all these, a lot of times you think of them as like these cobblestone streets that are kind of narrow and all the pedestrians are walking, then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, there's a car coming through. Everybody kind of walk to the side and we'll let this car that's going only 5 miles per hour come through. But the sole focus is pedestrians have the right of way. They're the ones walking and the cars have to look out for them. Now, being a pedestrian, you got to look out for the cars too. But now it has this shared street where everything's kind of commingling now.
The automobiles companies have lobbied this so well and so strongly that there's not one state in the country that has a shared streets law except for Washington now.
Yeah, it looks like Washington's the first one to do it.
Like you go to Europe, they're everywhere.
Yes, everywhere. And
everywhere.
Here there's nowhere.
Yeah, everywhere in Europe, they have streets that are walkable streets that are like one level, and you have bollards that say like, don't run into my, shop because there's no curbs. And America, there's not even one state that has that.
No, and anything, I mean, the closest thing is, Pike's Place in Seattle, their market that they have. Part of it is they had a street, and it is a little cobblestoney at parts of it, and that's probably the closest street to Europe where you have kind of the shared space. Now, if you've ever been there, it's all pedestrians. I don't think I've ever seen a car go through. Maybe one time, but a car can go through if they're dropping off something or they're trying to access one of the stands or something like that.
I'm thinking of Pike's Place. Is that every day of the week?
Sure. I don't know if it's just weekends or if it's every day. I feel like it's every day. I thought it was. I thought it was most days because all the stands are pretty permanent.
Might be pretty close. But, all across the country in America, we have these farmers markets, which is like Pike's Place. But you don't do a farmers market every day. How do you see that playing out for, the United States, given that we have none? How do cities and how does that process work? Do you have to have like a meeting?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of interesting. We kind of going back to kind of the history of it. You think of European cities, and they're so old. There's so much history to them. They were built before we had cars. We had horse-drawn carriages. People walked. So streets were built so narrow for that. And now we have these cars. It's almost like in Europe, cars are the afterthought, and the forethought is pedestrians walking. America, it's the complete opposite. Everything is planned for cars first, and then pedestrians are the afterthought. It's we only need a 5-foot minimum sidewalk for pedestrians on the side, so we're just going to create this 5-foot sidewalk for them, which if you think about it, you can't have couples 2 people, 4 people wide walking. And going back to the farmers markets that we do here, yes, we do have farmers markets on Saturdays, but they're car-oriented streets and they just shut it down to cars completely. Cars cannot go down, it's only for pedestrians. And then at 3 p.m. when the market's over, okay, it's back to cars again. Pedestrians can't walk on it anymore. It's like the solid line of only cars or only pedestrians. And so moving forward, I think now there's going to be this mingle of both of them together. And that's something that in America we're going to really have to learn how to do it. And no one's done it. So cities don't really know how to regulate that yet.
That's what I was trying to figure out, like Pike's Place, is this commingling area where it's like the street, but there's no cars. You can't drive a car through there.
No, if you think about the Pike's Place, the
Okay,
fish
that's
market,
the difference. Okay.
maybe parts of it. I know at the beginning, I'm imagining in my head. It's been years since I've been to Seattle, but I think
it wasn't that long since I've been there, and sure, there are roads. I mean, there are places, but they're the places that are like pedestrians are walking. People are taking selfies. There's the Pike's Place market.
Yeah, watch them throw the fish
no
at
cars
the
there.
fish market.
There's not a Volkswagen in your photo.
No,
But
no.
you're in the street.
Hmm. Yeah. So in America,
Okay.
it's very split.
Okay. I get it now. That's the difference. Because, like you said, the four people can't fit on the sidewalk.
Yeah. No, I,
One baby stroller with two kids in it. Boom, you're
yeah.
done.
Yeah. Everyone's got to move out of the way. If you got someone with a wheelchair and then you got a stroller, you got
Uh
a double
huh.
wide stroller because you got two toddlers in there. Can't cross with someone with a wheelchair. It's a really interesting thing that just by changing the speed limit, you think, okay, we're just changing the speed limit from 20 miles per hour to now 10. What is that going to do? Well, the second you bring car speed down to pedestrian speed, all of a sudden pedestrians are now more comfortable walking. It has to do with that's kind of the urban design thinking behind it, not to get too nerdy, but it's how does your environment make you feel? What does it encourage you to do? And if cars are forced to drive slow or the same speed or slower than pedestrians walk or can move around, pedestrians are more likely to walk into the street and utilize it more as their space and feel comfortable. It's like you think about it if you are walking on a sidewalk and you have the sidewalk, there's the curb, and then you have a lane right there of cars, and they're going 40 miles per hour, you're a foot or two away from them. That's not very comfortable. That sidewalk does not encourage you to walk on it and keep going. It actually discourages you because you feel so unsafe. Now think about
You
if
know
you
what it's
add
called?
what's that?
You know what this is called? Sorry to jump in, but I was just gonna say, you know what this
No,
is
go ahead.
called?
What?
It starts with a L and ends with a helplessness.
Learned helplessness.
Because if it's not comfortable, what do you learn? You like, screw that, I'm not doing it.
Exactly. You're like, it's more comfortable. Think about it. It's more comfortable to drive your car because, shoot, it's 40, but the lane's so wide, I can go 50 and everyone goes 50. So now it's like, do I be a pedestrian and walk 2 feet away from a car going 50 miles per hour? Or do I just hop in my car and go 50 miles per hour and I feel a lot safer in there? Yeah, so I think that connects to. So if you think about you're a pedestrian on a sidewalk and you're right next to a car lane that's going 50 miles per hour, you don't feel very comfortable. But
Or
now,
40.
if you, or 40, yeah, or even shoot, 35 sometimes, it's just not
Yeah,
very
I feel
comfortable.
really comfortable 25 and under.
Yeah,
And even then, I want to be off this. I don't want to be right on the street.
no, you don't.
Any type of curb that's, but like if there's a curb situation where there's a, what do you call them? The street tree area?
Yeah,
Is that just a divider?
I was just gonna bring that up. It's called a planter strip. So if you now add a
Hmm.
planter strip between the sidewalk and the car lane, there's this buffer.
Planner
You've
or
got
planter?
planter, Planter.
Planter.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
there's
thanks.
grass there, shrubs, usually trees every 30 or so feet. Now there's this physical barrier, and as a human, it makes you feel safer because, oh, I have this barrier between this big car that's driving super fast and
Oh,
dangerous.
okay.
And so
Yeah,
that
that's exactly how I feel.
feeling, yes, exactly. So they're going after that feeling of what does my environment encourage me to do? It's creating an environment that encourages pedestrian to use the streets. And so when cars, because think about it, if you're in a neighborhood and a car is only going 5 miles per hour, you're like, I can go 5 miles per hour. Shoot, I can run faster than that. I can just book it across the street. I know they're not going to hit me. I feel safe. I think that's the intent behind allowing for a reduced speed limit is making pedestrians feel safer and it encourages them to use the streets.
Yeah. And how nice is it to visit these places in Europe, like in Germany or in Italy? Let's say like a grandma, or let's say like a child, and they're using this area compared to a sidewalk. I think we have these people, and they're stuck in their houses because they don't feel comfortable,
Yes.
walking. They might walk through the park, but they're not going to get outside their neighborhood. And some people don't have nice parks in their neighborhood that they can go utilize. That really confines them to the neighborhood. They might really want to walk to the CVS or the pharmacy or the corner store. As a kid, you might really need that.
No, exactly. And as a kid and you live in a neighborhood, I mean, think about it. You drive through your neighborhood. I know my neighborhood, there's kids playing around in the cul-de-sac, in the street. They've got a basketball hoop out, but the second a car comes, you're like on high alert. You're making sure because cars are whipping around in neighborhoods. I know it's the speed limit's 20. Shoot, they're going 25, 30 if it's a straight shot and they're trying to leave their house or get home after work. It's very dangerous. But if you now have some of these streets and neighborhoods that are not like some of the private streets in neighborhoods, if you now create them to where it's kind of this mixed, like commingled area, it encourages kids to come out of their house. Parents feel comfortable having their kids out there because they know cars are only going 5 miles per hour. The chance their kid getting hit by a car is very low. So kids are a lot safer. Parents feel more comfortable with it. If
So
you're in a
you
wheelchair,
think? Oh, sorry.
no,
We'll
go
get
ahead.
to wheelchair in a second. But you think this is going to extend? So this is going to be any street because I was just thinking like commerce areas. It sounds like this could be any street. So potentially neighborhoods could flatten the curbs down, have areas where people could walk, and I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think everywhere because I mean, it's not possible to walk everywhere. You can't go walk 10 miles to the store or work or depending on where you live. I think it depends on the area and I don't think it's going to be all these travel areas. I think it's going to be some of these neighborhoods with private streets. They've got a cul-de-sac. Cars are not using it as often. That could be an example. But yeah, I think the main focus would be in commerce areas, little downtown areas where you already have this environment of so many people walking around. Yes, cars go through there too, but it's, hey, let's get rid of this curb. Let's make it flat. It kind of evens the curb concept is very interesting. The second you level the curb, it kind of creates this even playing field where now there's not this hierarchy of cars that are superior to pedestrians. Now all of a sudden pedestrians are the same, if not more, have a higher this hierarchy or superiority over these cars. And it levels out the playing field where now pedestrians feel safe to do it. And I mean, think about it. You go to big cities like Seattle, we said, you park in a parking garage, you go walk around, you try and book it across the crosswalks to go get to these areas. And you're going to these places that feel comfortable to walk around. You want to go see all these shops and these stores. And I'm not saying everywhere, all of a sudden the entire downtown area is shut down. I don't think that's a good idea at all. I think it should just be certain streets where it makes sense.
Yeah, or in neighborhoods, like it's not. It wouldn't be like every street in the neighborhood. It would just be where it made sense, and you it would just be neighborhood to neighborhood.
And yeah,
But it's possible.
exactly.
Interesting. Because yeah, like I said, right now zero. We don't have that in any neighborhood, probably in the entire country,
I mean,
where you
even
have this
like a
like,
cul
joint area.
yeah, you've got like a cul-de-sac. And think about a cul-de-sac. You've got 4 or 5 houses on it. Kids always play in the cul-de-sac. They've got their basketball hoops out. Yes, cars need to get in and out of the garage. People live there. I mean, I understand. I have a car. Everyone uses their car. I rely on my car to get to places. We cannot walk everywhere. It's just not feasible. But now, if you have kind of
America.
this area, exactly, it's America. I need to go drive to Fred Meyer or wherever. I could walk, but I can't take 2 hours out of my day to go walk to Fred Meyer to get
I know in Europe they have
my
this like
groceries.
different system where everybody lives in neighborhoods, and then they have this like it's really interesting. And then you travel if you want to go on vacation, or you travel if you want to do this. You don't have a situation where you have these like giant neighborhoods with like big parks, and then you have these giant centers, where you have like groceries, and it's like I mean seriously, do you think about a giant Walmart in Italy or
I mean,
in Scotland? Right? They're all these like, little like co-op, like these neighborhood co-op places. And it's like, yeah, it's just really America. We just have so much more land.
no, I think that's a great point you made about the little co-ops or little stores because that
Uh-huh.
forces think about in America we don't have each neighborhood or kind of neighborhood area doesn't have like a little store
Hmm.
that they can go to, a little mom and pop shop. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go home and make dinner. I forgot onions and garlic. I need that for my meal. Well, I need to go drive all the way to Fred Meyer or Walmart or Costco and do this huge grocery shop trip when I just need an onion
Hmm.
because I'm making spaghetti tonight. Think about how convenient it is if you're like, hey, right down the street, go walk down or just take a bike.
Yeah. And here's the real problem is that like these kids that are in this downtown Seattle area, there's no option for that onion. You go and you're like, well, where do we go? We go to the neighborhood deli. We go to the neighborhood gas station and they're not going to have an onion, right? But it's like Walmart is 45 minutes away
Yeah.
or an hour away by driving, and they're a kid. So that's kind of what I was talking about. You were talking about elderly. Mhm.
Have you ever walked on a sidewalk and then the street trees or the curbs are all bumpy and all messed up, and then you look at the street that the cars are driving on, you're like, wow, that's looks a lot smoother, easier to walk on. I just, recently had some street trees removed nearby. The sidewalk in front of my house was
This might be a
lifting
little
this.
bit personal thing.
Okay, maybe we can cut this part out. But I'm just saying, sometimes sidewalks are not perfectly flat. They got issues. And so just creating this surface that is just completely flat and everyone's on the same level, it encourages
Okay.
people to walk and it's a lot safer. It's flatter. People with wheelchairs, they have plenty of room to move around. You've got a stroller, plenty of room to move around.
Now, my question to you is, and you don't have to answer this, do you think that the street trees are actually a conspiracy from the auto industry to make it so nobody wants to walk on the sidewalk? Go.
Wow. That's an interesting point. I don't know how much I can speak to that. Okay, conspiracy theorist. I think we now
That
have,
that's sneaky smart. We should maybe follow the money there because
you
that's
know,
possibly what happened.
I think what cities have started doing is now having some standards for tree types that you can plant near sidewalks so they won't lift them up. So I think we're starting to get that figured out.
I get about bikes and dogs because I'm thinking about my dog. Okay, my dog is just a real hyperactive beast. Okay, he doesn't get along on the sidewalks very good. He would very much benefit from having some space, being able to walk in different directions. Am I missing something there?
No, I think that's a great point because I'm sure when anyone walks a dog, if their dog's a little reactive, they see a dog coming towards them. And I mean, what do you do when that happens? You probably go the other side of the street, but
Yeah,
you have
I'm
to make sure
playing
there's no car.
freaking Snake with my dog. Remember that game on your phone when you were a kid and you were like trying to like
Yes.
not hit the walls and everything? Like that's me walking my dog through the neighborhood. And there's nothing I can do about it. But if I can keep the distance, I could take my dog to a shared space and it would be no problem. It's going to be a great experience. Good
Hmm.
luck walking past that on a 4 foot sidewalk.
Exactly. It's so limiting. You have such limited space. And I mean, not every dog can walk right next to another dog. It forces your dog to be side to side with a dog, which is not best
Almost no dogs
scenario.
can. I want to avoid all that. I want to just put my dog into an area and walk across the street and just be like, okay, your dog's over there, my dog's over here. We don't have to walk right next to each other.
Hmm. Well, have you ever like bringing your dog to a farmer's market where the street is shut down? Think about that scenario. That would be a lot better. That's kind of a similar scenario to
Exactly.
having the shared street concept. That's a lot
Exactly,
better
but
than a sidewalk.
I don't want to have to put the Wednesday in my brain to go down to the farmers market to walk my dog. I just want to be able to walk my dog there whenever I want. And that's really the benefit I think of this is it's like it's a permanent thing where I just know I can trust that I can go down there anytime I want. And if it's near my house, it would be it's going to be I think a really big boon for areas if they put one of these lower streets in. I think it will attract people to that
Oh,
area.
I think so too. I think it's going to be a huge attraction because now you can get out of your house, you
Hmm.
feel more safe, you feel comfortable, you can get outside. I honestly think this goes broader into treating so many health issues that we have in America because think about it in Europe,
Hmm.
everyone's walking around. Now their food is completely
Yeah.
different than ours, which is a totally different conversation for another time. But
Hmm.
encouraging people to get outside and walk around and move their bodies instead of sitting being in such having such a sedentary
Yeah.
lifestyle. I think you need to encourage the things you want people to do. And if you want people to be healthy and walk around and go outside, do things that encourage them to do that. So it's easier to go outside than it is to just sit in your house and play video games or watch TV.
Italians live. Okay, I don't know why I stuttered there, but Italians are 8 years longer on average lifespan.
8 years?
Yes, and it's not because they're eating pizza and pasta and gelato for every meal. I mean, that might be a contributing factor, okay? Where we could probably live longer if we ate pizza and gelato and pasta for every meal. Okay, said no doctor ever, but I mean, maybe we can find somebody. But they literally eat so much of that food, and they live still 8 years longer than us. When
Exactly.
Americans are eating that food all the time too. But it really, like you said, it's the exercise and getting out and is more important. That makes you live longer. Most important organ for living longer. It's like, well, obviously your heart, but the second one is your thighs. Well, your lungs and your thighs. What does the heart and the lungs and the thighs all have to do with? Walking.
Endurance, walking.
What is this walking? What do we do that for? Friends. To go see your friends, to walk around and meet your neighbors and all the people that you want to see and your family.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's interesting, which I think it kind of goes to like that basic human need. But
Yes.
will these shared spaces be the thing? Just a positive driver in this.
Yeah, honestly, everybody. I think anybody can. The people, they're instead of being encouraged to stay inside, now they're encouraged it's more accessible for them to be outside. Is that what you're kind of speaking asking about?
Imagine you're in the middle of the city. You are a young kid. You have no idea about the laws. Nobody's read you the rule book. You have no idea about police. You have no idea about bad guys, people that want to like come and hurt you and take you. You don't really have any concept of this, right? And you don't understand vehicles. You don't understand that it's a permanent thing if you get hit by a car. You don't understand all of these things. But what you do understand is that there's this area in the city that you can visit and none of these things matter.
Mhm.
I'm just remembering like when I went to Germany and I was like, damn, I'm a little nervous. I don't know any of the rules. I know these people are strict over here. So that's for me, that's been my experience.
Yeah, just being able to explore and feel comfortable with that because when you have all these signs of no parking here, don't do this, don't do that, you're unsure of what the rules are. So if you're unsure, you're more likely to be like, okay, I'm just going to avoid that. I'm going to go somewhere else, not even do this because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know the rules. Maybe I'm a tourist,
Don't leave
or
the
maybe
hotel.
exactly you stay there. You don't want to get in trouble. You don't know.
Hmm.
And so if you now have this
Yeah. So I
area
look
that's,
across.
yeah, so now you have this area that is sort of for everyone. There's not really these rules. The rule is, hey, this is the speed limit. Don't go faster than 10 miles per hour, 5 miles per hour. Now
No,
you
but
feel
think
a
back
lot
to
more
Germany,
comfortable.
right? You
Yeah.
walk out of the hotel room and you look across the way and there's the home base.
Yeah.
You can see that road is a pedestrian road. And so, like I said, none of these things apply for you if you're a kid. You don't have to
Hmm.
worry about any of that stuff, right? You don't have to worry about somebody running up on you and throwing you into their van and taking off. I mean, honestly, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like you're really worried about that like as an adult, but like all of these things, like I said, you don't have to worry about in the shared space. You can see there's all these people over there. They're all, going about their business, and it's clearly a pedestrian area
Grabbing a
ripping
kid
through it.
and flying off.
Yeah, no, that's an extreme example,
I know.
but I'm just saying, like, if you want to take it, like, there's no fear in the pedestrian area. So yeah, just all of these things. Sorry, like I said, don't exist in the home base.
Well, exactly. And I think another concept of the home base, there's this city planning concept called eyes on the street, and it makes it safer. So if you have more people on the street, you've got more eyes looking out, you feel safer because you know, oh, if someone comes up or messes with me or tries to steal my bag or tries to do this, there's so many people watching that it's less likely to happen. So it just creates this safety that I think is very important and is really it comes down to human nature. Everyone wants to feel safe. They're not going to do something if they don't feel safe. So create this safe environment for them, such as the eyes on the street concept, because it's like people having front porches. If you got front porches, you're gonna sit on it, you're gonna see people walking around, you're gonna see the cars, the kids playing in the yards. Safety is there's less bad things that are gonna happen because if someone comes up and wants to kind of mess around with someone, they know, well, everyone's on their front porches, they're all watching me. Or, okay, we're in the shared space, we've got 50 pedestrians walking around. I can't steal someone's bag because someone's going to stop me or they're going to take a video or they're going to see me. So they're less likely to do something bad.
Do you want to talk about something like e-bikes? Because I honestly, this whole thing,
Yeah.
I thought originally it had to do with e-bikes or biking in general, and we haven't even touched on that at all. Now I'm thinking maybe that's just one piece of it.
Yeah, no, that's a good concept because I think it did talk about that is e-bikes because you think about e-bikes, e-bikes can go 15, 20, 30. They can go 30 miles per hour. And they're so
Yeah,
new, there's not a lot of
they're not
limitations
allowed
on
to
them.
though. No,
They're not allowed
the
to?
speed limit is 20. Yeah, the speed limit is 20 for e-bikes.
Okay, I see. So
But
now,
you're totally right though. They can go way faster than that. But it is illegal to do so. So you put a governor on your e-bike. You should, where it's like, my e-bike can go 35 miles per hour. You get a little
that's
thirsty.
wild. That's so fast.
It's way too fast for me. So you put a governor on it that just says, okay, it can only go 20. which is cool.
Yes.
Your e-bike can do that when like, obviously your bicycle, you can't be like, hey, max out at 20. No, you just keep on going. And that's one of the dangers of a bicycle. Like going downhill, you can just you don't max out until you crash. That's just how it
Mhm.
works. So yeah, so e-bikes, how does the e-bike thing work in there? Because they would as well have to only go 10 miles per hour.
You've got an e-bike. How would this shared space affect you riding your e-bike?
You know how I like to ride my e-bike? I like to leisurely ride my e-bike, right? I like to just kind of, throttle it. Uh, I never like bust it on the e-bike. I'm never pedaling super hard. I'm always using the electricity from the e-bike to get me where I need to go. I never even sweat on my e-bike ever. But it's nice. It's kind of like going on a walk, right?
Just
This is
very
not an exercise.
leisure.
It's very leisure. So in a shared space, beautiful. I would love to take my e-bike. You think of like a Vespa in Europe. I think that's
Mhm.
originally where the Vespas were, maybe because of these specific things. Like we're not trying to like fly around. We're just trying to, casually go place to place, and we can't go very fast anyways. Get a Vespa. Get some kind of a thing, and you never see those in America, and maybe because we don't have these home base type of situations.
Yeah, because I think in America we have it's opposite ends of the spectrum. You either have a car where you can go 60 miles per hour on the freeway very easily, or you're a pedestrian where you're walking less than 5 miles per hour. There's not a lot of in between. Like I think about biking because I have a bike. I do not feel safe riding my bike, even in a bike lane on the street.
Me neither.
It's just not built for this in between. And it's just interesting that we have America's just so separated. Um, on each side of the spectrum. There's not an in between, and Europe does a really good job with that. And there's a lot of history and things that have helped encourage that. But I think in America, we're trying to make that transition into
Do you think in
that state.
Europe? Do you think in Europe the bike lanes were horse trails? Like maybe they've built the roads, but they're
Yeah,
like, hey, we still need horse trails.
yeah. There's still lots of trails and areas that you can ride your horse.
Yeah, so that's my question is, do you think in Europe that was kind of the idea is like, hey, I mean, do you remember in Germany we saw people riding their horses on the bike trail?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's my question is, do you think in Europe they were like, huh, we're not going to prevent you from traveling, via horse because we know your people are going to use horses and we want to encourage that. And then they
Mhm.
just turn those into bike lanes,
I honestly don't know. That's a good question. I think,
multi-purpose. So it's like horse or bikes because they do
yeah.
such a good job. It's kind of like Sun River, right? Where it's like they do a really good job of like, hey, here's the road, but here's the bikes. And they're
Mhm.
totally separate, but they're all kind of working together. And there's this big system. And Sun River is interesting because that actually is in the United States.
Yeah,
But in Europe, they do that a lot.
Sun River is a very interesting concept because
Hmm.
yes, it encourages bikes and pedestrians and cars, but it's still separate if you think about it. The bike lanes are separate from the cars. Yes, they're all on the same plane, like they're all
Uh-huh.
flat. There's no curbs or anything like that. But bikes are not allowed to go on the car lanes and cars are not allowed to go on the bike lanes.
So you want it
So
more
it's still
integrated.
separate.
I mean, and you're not that you want it, but what you're saying is it's not truly as European as what they're doing in Europe. In the city, it's like, dude, I feel very comfortable driving through the city on my bike. When I say city, it's like the tiniest town ever, but it's not like the middle of the
But
countryside, right?
still, when you have cars coming down these streets in Italy where it's mostly pedestrians, pedestrians are
Okay.
so comfortable and used to having the priority that when a car comes, it's almost like an annoyance to where they're like, okay, I'll get out of the way to allow them to go through, but like, come on, the
Yeah.
pedestrians are really
Oh yeah.
the main focus here. Cars come to a full stop. And they're not honking and freaking out. They come to a stop, they wait, then they move
Yeah,
forward, they
they have to
wait.
they have to missile their way through. Like the people are just like, dude, this is not for cars. But it
Mhm.
is for cars. I mean, the cars can definitely go through. But yeah, it's really yeah, you don't want to go through because it's really really tough. And even
Yeah.
the streets in Europe, I mean, you have to have a tiny tiny car, and even then, it's going to be really tight. Do you remember some of these cars going through there? And it was like, how are they going to fit? I
Oh
mean,
my
they are
god.
risking it all to make it through these little tiny alleys.
Yeah, they've got like an inch on each side of their rearview mirror. They can barely fit through.
Yeah, so it's not about restricting the car situation because we have so much more room over here in America. You can have nice places for cars and also nice places. Everybody has to work together in this very much lower speed limit, a pedestrian
Mhm.
type of speed limit.
It only makes sense in
Because
certain areas and like some downtown areas. You can't do the whole downtown, maybe one street here, one street there. It just depends on the area because I mean, I like my car. I like to drive my car to get to places quicker. So
that's such a city planner thing to say.
that I like my car.
Yeah, just split the baby. Yeah, we really like we really like shared spaces with pedestrians, but I really like my car too.
You know, we got a plan for everything. I want to hear your thoughts on how this is going to be, how autonomous vehicles are going to play a role in these shared street, low mile per
Yeah.
hour areas.
Yeah, and the article but makes a pretty good point. The most dangerous point of time for the autonomous vehicle integration is when it's 50-50. When half the cars are autonomous and half the cars are people, as in doing whatever the heck people do.
That's the most
And that
dangerous.
is like that's the most dangerous point because
Mhm.
there's no system. It's like, well, are we mostly going for people or are we mostly going through the autonomous? But if that's the case, should we wait to do the shared spaces? Because as soon as you get an autonomous vehicle situation running up against a shared space, what happens when the autonomous vehicle goes down the street? I mean, does the autonomous vehicle, are they going to be able to figure out this? You kind of need a little bit of a human touch to get through like an Italian street like that.
But is it safer to have the autonomous vehicle that is always has a camera on, always sensors? It's going so slow that it can sense if someone jumps out or a little kid jumps out versus a
I mean,
human.
so to answer that, it's always going to be safer. But what I'm saying is the autonomous vehicle might be inept to even make it through it. It's going to be so safe that it won't go through it.
I was just gonna stop, go, stop, go, stop. I can't just can't move forward.
Yeah. So,
Let's see.
and that's just off the top of my head. Like if I'm thinking of problems, because I see a future where you click a button and it shoots you through. So it goes around the shared spaces because you're gonna hit a button, it's gonna go hyperdrive, and you're gonna not even be driving. Nobody's gonna be in your way because we're gonna have all this figured out. Or a tunnel,
Mhm.
right? They do like the boring tunnel. You like click a button, you go under the shared space, and then boom, you're up and you're going straight through. And so people are going 100 miles per hour under or 200 miles per hour, whatever. I don't know how great cars are going to be in the future. The issue is we're not there yet.
No, we're not, and it's gonna be a lot of time until we get there. But I think that that's the first step is having
Yeah.
autonomous vehicles.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right now. I mean, I literally, my cousin was like, "You want to drive without driving? Here, jump in my Tesla, and we'll." He had the full self driving, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit!" This car is literally you click the gas, and you're now not driving anymore, and the car is just taking you around doing stuff. Really bizarre, and
Or
it
like
does an amazing
Vegas.
job. Except for, I will say, one point we would have died. A human
Yes.
being is going to know like that road is totally screwed up. I'm just going to do this other thing. But the Tesla's car is like, we assume you guys wouldn't screw the road up this bad. Oh shit, you guys did. And then you're like stopping and there's cars going by and everything like that. And so no, you're not going to get in a car accident, but it's like super abrasive
Mm-hmm. Well,
to
because
drive in the Tesla for full self driving.
they don't have like that rational thinking going on, and that's where I think AI is going to come into play. Is
No,
it's going to get
I think it's
better.
the opposite. No, I think it's the opposite. It has all the rational thinking and it's going like, holy shit, how could you humans screw this road up so badly? Like, there's no way you're gonna screw it up that badly. And then it's like, oh my gosh, you guys do screw it up that badly. And then it's like stopping really quickly. So there's
Yeah.
gonna be like a lot of, and maybe they will improve the road system because of all the autonomous driving. I guarantee you that's gonna be the future. Is the roads are gonna get
Yes.
so much better because they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, why is this the self-driving car having this issue every single time? Oh, it's because we're doorknobs and we set the road up like this. That's the autonomous information that we're getting that you were never getting before. But it reminds me of this like shared space. It's like it's a different conversation, but it's a similar one where, how's autonomous vehicles gonna play into all this? Is that what you wanted me to talk about for autonomous vehicles? Is that kind of hitting on it?
Yeah, because my thoughts are it's interesting to see how autonomous vehicles versus human drivers. will interact with
Hmm.
these pedestrians and bikes just commingling. You got to think, because
Yeah.
there's human error. You're not going to see every single person. That's why we have crashes and you hit
Yeah.
curbs or bollards or things like that because you're not paying attention. You get a text. We're so distracted nowadays. So is that what we should rely on, or should it turn to this autonomous vehicles where now they are the ones in these shared spaces and it's going to be safer because they have a camera on and they can see people
Well,
all the
I see where
time?
you're going.
I'm looking at
I see where you're
from a
going.
safety point of view. Which is going to be safer?
Yes. It's like, do we only allow autonomous vehicles in these shared spaces?
Yeah, and I'm not really going to say an opinion of if I think one way is better than the other. It's just it's something very interesting that we're going to have to look at and think about. What decisions are we going to make and which one's safer and who takes priority in these situations?
It's like literally these are concepts that for me are hard to get my head around. And because there is a lot, there's so much that goes into it. It's so complex. The
Mhm.
simplicity of it, just here's a new law, makes it so complex when you think about all of the ramifications and the guidelines and all of the design that needs to go into it. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to click the video over my shoulder, and the Lawyer Cliff Show continues.